Sippers, welcome to this episode of the Tea With Me podcast with me, Shane Todd. It's another episode. Dan, what episode is it?
133.
133. Rain Man himself. 133 episodes of this shit. And we're still here. Before we get stuck into this, let me plug Patreon. Patreon.com/teawithmepodcast. We're doing a live episode in the limelight on what date, Dan? 25th of November. Man's 2 for 2. 25th of November. 2 W's in the bank. 25th of November in the limelight. By the time this episode goes out, it could well be sold out, so maybe ignore this. But we put that news on Patreon before anywhere else. We put an exclusive link up there, early release tickets and all that sort of stuff. We're doing a bonus episode on a Monday and a live stream on a Friday. So it's a great place to be. Patreon.com/teawithmepodcast. We are sponsored by Thompson's Tea. They're the cronies behind Punjana. And you know Punjana's Northern Ireland's number one selling tea. Fuck the rest, we're the best is genuinely their official slogan. They haven't announced it yet, but that's their official slogan. And their brand ambassador is going to be Vinnie Jones. And that's more exclusive news for you. Punjana's Northern Ireland's number one selling tea. Look, these crowd have been making tea in Belfast since the 1800s, which is mental because I didn't even know Belfast went back that far, but it turns out it does. And the first thing that ever happened in Belfast was the Thompsons pitched up from fucking Germany and started making tea straight away. And that's weird because there was no one else here, but they set up a stall with nothing but a bit of elbow grease and a dream, and that dream's a reality because now they're sponsoring the Tea With Me podcast. So just keep drinking their tea. You heard it from them themselves. Fuck the rest, we're the best. Fuck the haters. That's okay. That's not officially their new statement, but that's what it could be because they're great. So just keep drinking Thompson's tea. I'm drinking it right now, and fuck me, it's delicious. We're also sponsored by Manscaped. It's coming into the winter months. You know, you need to get in touch with your pubes. You need to get in touch with your downstairs hair, and you need to evict it. You need to get it out. Like students in the Holy Lands. You know, they're maybe causing a bit of a scene, wrecking the place, shit on the walls, all the stuff. They evict them. Be a landlord, be a good landlord, and evict your pubes. That's what we're asking you to do. It's coming up to the time where like a lot of people will be looking down there and going, I'll just keep that for the winter. Don't. Because what if, like me, you have to get circumcised and then you forget that you have a fucking monstrosity down there. You've got like Tom Jones from above down there, and then the doctor goes, right, we're going to have to, you know, open you up here, and then you realise like, and then you realise that there's like 9 nurses, and you're like, this is way too many nurses for just my circumcision. Like, why are there so many people in the room? And this did happen to me. But I had taken care of myself beforehand, not like pleasure myself, but I had, they didn't ask me to do that. I did it anyway, but they didn't ask me, but I had taken care of myself down there because I knew that when I was out cold, I didn't want to look bad down there. I wanted to look good. I wanted them to say, look, I don't know what this is, but the guy takes care of himself. That's all we can ever ask for. So what you do is you go to Manscaped, manscaped.com. Use the code TeaWithMe for 20% off and free shipping. They have men's below the belt grooming products. Men's below the belt grooming products. They've got ball cleanser, ball deodorant, ball wipes, all this. So guys, 2021, move with the time. They've got the Lawnmower 4.0. Dan, see if you want to charge that, do you need wires? Like, do you need plug wires in?
Not even one.
What?
Not one.
What are you telling me?
Wireless charging.
Jesus Christ. Wireless charging. You heard it here first. Tea With Me, use the code 20% off and free shipping, sort your pubes out. Speaking of belts, my guest today has a belt. I specifically asked him to bring it. He walked through Holywood High Street with it, with his shirt off, throwing a few digs at people. He is MMA champ, Paul Hughes.
Yes, sir.
Paul, thanks very much for coming in. Thanks for bringing the belt. You're not only the first guest that's ever brought a belt, you're the first guest that's brought donuts and sweets.
Come on, got to.
Lovely
you
touch.
gave me a lovely wee coffee there, so
yeah. You asked for a cappuccino. I was like, that's outside
I was
of my
looking for
capabilities.
milk and everything, but I guess I'm not gonna get VIP treatment today, but whatever.
Were you this generous before you won the belt? Like, would you
No,
have
I
brought...
was horrible. I was horrible. I'm only nice for about a couple of weeks here, and then that's me back to being a cock.
Yeah, just everyone around you's like, I hope he keeps this belt because he is fucking a nightmare when he's not the champ. This is great. We're going to talk about this at length, but see, having a belt like this, so Mike went to move your belt to change the camera shot, and then he was like, oh, I think that's stuck down to something, because he said that he's only used to ever having like, you know, like plastic wrestling belts when he was younger. So like this is a heavy belt.
Yeah, there's a bit of weight to it, all right. Like,
Now, do you wear this about 24/7?
yeah,
Yeah, I love that. I would just wear it as a normal belt. Like, I think that's genuinely class. Just
Yeah.
like standing in the queue at Centra with a belt over the shoulder, waiting at the deli.
Yeah, I mean, like, I actually hadn't lifted it in about 3 to 4 days. It was in the boot of my car, and when I took it out there to come here, I was like, feeling myself again. I was
Oh
like,
yeah,
over the shoulder,
yeah.
like out on the table, I guess here. Like,
But when you get like, we can talk about how you won this belt. But when you actually like get the belt for the first like while, did you just have it constantly on, like walking about the arena? And
yeah, I mean, like, so I'm weird. So before the fight, like, you're supposed to get pictures with the belt for like the media or whatever, and you're supposed to like hold away your opponent and stuff. Like, I wouldn't touch it. So like, even for example, my teammate Joe McColgan won the belt like maybe 4 or 5 months ago in a different weight class, and I wouldn't hold it. Like, in fact, even years ago when I first signed the CageWarriors, I got a picture with the belt because somebody was fighting for it or whatever, and I goes, right, that's the last time I'm gonna wear it. I'm not touching it again until I win it myself.
Right.
And even on the likes of fight week, like the day before the fight, you're doing your proper media shots, and you have to get a picture with it because it's for the media, it's for the production. And like, lucky enough, I'm friendly enough with the girl who does the photography, and I'm like, I'm not touching the belt. And she was like, don't fucking tell anyone. And obviously I'm telling her right now.
yeah.
But sorry, Dolly,
You've just
for
been
that.
sacked, bud.
She's lost her job, but whatever. So the first time I held it then was whenever he actually put it around my waist. So yeah.
Do you think, like, say people found out, they were like, look, he should have done that, that was in your contract, and you were breaching contract when you won the belt? Is there like a rule or anything that like whoever's in closest proximity when that happens, when you admit that, becomes the interim champion? Because I would love to be a CageWarriors champion. Like, I'd fucking love that.
There you are. It's the double interim champ there.
I would love it, and I'd always look for ways to back out of the fight, so I'd just keep the belt for like a decade. No, that is an I love that you still get a belt. Like, you know, people
Yeah.
might have thought that maybe that was going to die out, or it's like an old school traditional thing, but it's very cool. So I want to like go back and find out like how you got into everything, because it's people might say it about this with comedy as well, but it's a mad business to like go into. It's certainly a job that's out of the ordinary, like being a fighter, you know, because I kind of think about boxing like being a bit more, I don't know, being like less barbaric, and I don't even think MMA is necessarily barbaric, but I just mean it's like it's more like all out war. You know what I mean? It's more of a scrap, just as skillful, but a scrap. So, were you like boxing as a kid? How did you decide that you want to be a fighter?
No, I was literally just playing soccer, Gaelic hurling. Like, I was heavily involved as a kid. Like, just
You're from Derry, yeah?
I'm from Derry, yeah. And I was just so competitive, always playing at a good level in them sports. And like, I just found MMA when I was like 15. I was watching boxing, used to love Rocky, used to love that whole thing. And like, I was always sort of smaller as well, so I was always a bit insecure. Like, I always wanted to be tough, even though I was like fucking 5 foot nothing.
Yeah.
And especially in a pitch, you're getting bullied. Like, so I was like, I want to be tough. And I was watching Rocky, things like that. Then I started watching the UFC, and I was like, this is the maddest shit I've ever seen in my life.
Was this back in the days when UFC wouldn't have been what it is today? Like, you had to more search it, because there was a time when it was weird, like not weird when people watch UFC, but like I remember my dad loving UFC, and it was on a really weird cable channel, and he couldn't have really talked to anyone about it. Obviously now it's everywhere.
Yeah.
But was this at a time where UFC was what it is today, or was it just getting into that?
I think it was just about getting to where it was today. I mean, like, I'm pretty young. I'm only 24, so
Yeah.
that would have been maybe only fucking less than 10 years ago I was watching it. So it was like Anderson Silva, that sort of time, where it was like popping off, like it was getting world renowned. But yeah.
And then so say you want to do comedy, you just, you know, like, okay, I'll go down to a comedy club, I'll do a gig and see how it goes from there. But if you want to get into like MMA, is it a case of like you find somewhere that are putting on classes and then you just get straight into it.
Yeah, basically, like I didn't know that MMA was even a thing. Like I didn't know there was no fighters, there was like barely any pros, there was no Conor McGregor, nothing like that when I started. But I'd found out like one of my best mates' brother, he had been training at some gym, so he had like mats in his garage. Shout out to Dan and Connor. But they were just showing me these moves, and I was like, this is the coolest shit I've ever seen in my life. Like, can I please come to the classes? And it took me about 6 months to gather up the courage to actually go. There was a gym like only 10 minutes from my house, so I was just convincing my mom and dad, like, please let me go, please. Because like I was training every night for other sports, and they were like, not a fucking chance. No way are you going to do another sport on top of that. Like, your Gaelic's going to suffer, your hurling's going to suffer. And I was like, just let me go on a Saturday, like, and try it out. And literally after a month, that was me, like, fucking hooked. I was like, this is the best sport in the world.
So the first while you're just scrapping with two brothers in a garage, which basically is like a nice way to start.
100%. That literally is how it started. Like, me and a couple of mates, like, just being shown a move, like, looking on YouTube, staying up to 6 a.m. watching the UFCs and going, we need to learn this. This is the coolest shit ever.
That's what I can't do. Like, I love to, like, watch fighters that I know or watch local fighters, whether it's boxing or MMA or whatever it is. But for me, it's very much based on the level I'm willing to support really relies on what time you're going to be fighting at. I found that because I used to stay up and watch like pay-per-view fighting and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, if the fight's on when I was younger, you know, but the fight's on at 4, so it was ideal back then because it's like, look, cable tel gets a bit, and you wouldn't remember cable tel, but after midnight, channel 60 and 61, stick out on for an hour before the fight. Yeah, so I mean, sometimes I wasn't even making the fight, but that is what I used to do. I remember being like 13, 14, being like, I'm staying up for WrestleMania, and then in the morning my mum be like, so who won the main fight? I was like, I don't fucking know.
13, 14 / 23, 24.
Recently, yeah. But I would have been able to stay up for those fights, and the last fight, because so many fights come from America, obviously. The last fight I stayed up for was such a struggle, was the first Fury and Wilder fight, and I'm really glad I did stay up for it, and everyone I was with had all fallen asleep or faded or whatever, but I can't do it. I'm just at the age where I can't do it, and I think fights are something that you have to watch live.
Yeah,
you can't really watch the highlights, because once you know who wins,
I know it's so hard, like getting on social media or getting the fight up the next day without getting it spoiled on you. Like, that's the hardest thing. So
what I'm saying is, as you progress and as you move up and defend the belt and do whatever, would you just knock the American fights on the head? Because that's not going to work. Like, even Liam McCourt's Wembley fight, I was chatting to Tony over there. I was like, what time, do you know what time the ring walk's supposed to be, or what time's the fight? And I think we thought it was going to be 10, and at about 11 I was like, Leia, what are you doing here? What are you doing?
Sort it out here.
I was like, no.
I could not agree more. I have not stayed up for a fight in years. No, the good thing was that UFC card that was on like a month ago, all the UK fighters was on UK time, and it absolutely blew up over here. Like, so many people were talking about it. So hopefully the UFC can actually do something like that in the near future, so people like yourself can watch
suit
it.
Me down to
lazy cunts like yourself.
In fact, never mind like late. See, like a 5 o'clock fight.
100%.
Perfect.
100%.
Like the chase after the prelims for me should be the chase, and then we just get into the fight. And see, the ring walks, just be in the ring when I switch on. I don't have time for the ring walks. So you eventually persuade your parents to let you go to this, go to the fight, go to training, and quickly do you realize that like you want to drop the other sports, or when does like MMA become your main thing?
I mean, like, as the months went on, it just slowly but surely became more and more MMA. Like, I was still so involved with the Gaelic and hurling, which was hard because, like, being from where I'm from, Lavey, it's like we parish and everything revolves around the GAA and the hurling team. Yeah. And like when you're like playing all throughout, like then when you start drifting away from it, like the whole parish is like, what are you doing? Like, well, get back on the pitch, you can't you? Like,
because it's like, it's not like club soccer where you could go sign for anyone, you can move around teams. I get what you mean. You're like, you're representing your parish, and then if you're not playing, people, you know, you're gonna be like, I'm letting down the parish or whatever. So I understand that's a hard sport to walk away from.
Yeah.
But that also, like, playing those sports like Gaelic and hurling sets you up well for going into like combat.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's what made me tough, to be completely honest. Like, I never boxed or anything like that. Like, I was just like a dog on the pitch.
Yeah, I won't play football. See, if it's less than 5 degrees, I won't play football. I'll fake injury in the warm up.
So 100% that set me up for MMA in my opinion, like, because I was always the one that just thrived in like the real hard games, like championship matches where like it's 0 degrees and you're playing a pile of big cunts from friggin' Derry City or something. And like I was just always a smaller guy, I just got stuck in. So yeah, MMA for me was just like, it just turned out to be like the ultimate competition, and the more and more I was in it, the more I was just like, I can do this shit. Like,
yeah, I hate playing against guys that get stuck in. I'll turn around to markers beforehand and be like, mate, can we make an agreement here? Neither of us get stuck in. I dander, like, you know what I mean? And I'll say, I've said on the pitch many times, in a tackle, after you. I'll be like, please, you go first. when it's coming really high, I'm like, that's going to hurt my head. You go ahead, mate. I'll get the next
just
one.
Just up and just pretend to hit it and just completely miss.
Oh, all the time.
Sorry, lads.
Sorry, mate, sun's in my eyes here. It's a dull day. But yeah, I'd say like I'm being like a dad myself, it's something that, you know, you understand with sports there's always going to be contact, tackles, a risk of danger, but with something like MMA or anything with striking, I can understand why your parents would be like reluctant to let you go and do that. Yeah. And when you start doing it, are you getting like an elbow to the head? Are you getting like, when does it go from training to like getting your shit knocked out? Like this?
I mean, I had my first fight maybe a year after training, but I was fortunate I would say definitely more fortunate that my coach was like hard as fuck. Like at the start, he was like we got stuck in the sparring. Like when I was like 15, 16, we were like fighting all the time, and that's what
you and your coach.
My coach and
She's
a couple of my hard
kids.
Just beating the cunt out of me, like. But that literally made me the tough fighter that I am today.
But do you think you're saying that, you know, before this through Gaelic and hurling that, you know, you felt tough, you were getting stuck in, but do you think that when people go and start doing MMA, can you learn that, or is that because with comedy, right? People will go, there's something you can't teach. You either like sort of have it or you don't, and you can do gigs and learn, or you could do a comedy course, but really to learn this like instinct of being funny, that's not possible. You either have it or you don't. With MMA, are there people you've ever seen that go in and just it's not for them, and then they build that toughness, or do you have to have it?
I think it's something that you sort of have to have. I think you can definitely develop in a sense through like athleticism, things like that, but there's something that's like a doggedness inside you that I just think can't be taught. Like that heart, the heart of a champion, they call it. Like it's just something that some people have, and that's why successful fighters, or people who are coming from like deprived areas, things like that, because they just have that dog in them. And like anybody can be taught good skills and have amazing coaches, but when it comes to like fighting regularly at like a world class level, it's something different. It's probably the same. I find there's a lot of, like, I'm a big comedy fan, I find there's a lot of sort of similarities. No, you're a comedy fan. No, I'm joking. Massive comedy fan, and I feel there is just a lot of similarities in that regard. Like
it's like a very solitary thing. Like it's a very independent, like individual job to have. You know, you can do it with other comedians, and you'd have other fighters in camp, but it's really like you that dictates how well you do and that sort of thing. I understand what you mean as well about good fighters coming from like deprived areas, stuff like that. That's why obviously we have so many great boxers and fighters from Belfast, and that's why there are no MMA fighters from Hollywood.
Not yet. No. Not yet.
No. So so after a year, what age are you when you have your first fight?
16. Yeah, I started at 15. Fought first fight when I was 16.
Where? Where's first fight?
In the Antrim British Legion.
I'd say not the first fight that's been happening in there.
Against some 25-year-old guy covered in tats, and me, a wee 16-year-old friggin' baby face.
How many people are that roughly, like?
Oh, I don't know, maybe friggin' 500 or 600, like.
Oh, wow.
It was always like
a wee small venue, at the RBL?
but it's popping off, like.
Oh,
man, this drink being thrown in, like.
Wow. Is there a DJ?
Oh, 100%.
Oh, fuck,
it's a party, like.
We're taking this podcast on the
road. Next show there, we're
the Antrim Royal British Legion. I love that.
Oh man, this.
How do you feel going into that first fight? Like, because now I imagine you arrive at a venue, you've got a dressing room, you know, you've got your team there and that sort of thing. You've got maybe a bit of press. But when you had your first fight in the Royal British Legion, was it literally a case of like just arrive half an hour before or something, or how different is that to where you're fighting at now?
It's basically just arrive, get your hand dropped either by a coach, which means you can fucking do whatever you want with your hand drops, or by a cup man, and then you have like a wee tiny square. Usually in places like that, it's like out the back of a bar in like a storage room, and there's like maybe 4 wee tiny mats, and there's about 12 fighters have to warm up. So you get like a wee tiny slot with your coach, and like you can't even step forward and back. You're just like hitting pads, and you're like, right, you're ready to go here. Like no room to grapple, no room to do anything else. And then it's like you get the call from the runner, and right, you're next up, and you're like, let's go, fuck.
What was your first? Did you have a walkout song?
What was my first walkout song?
Had to be Eye of the Tiger. Surely everyone's Eye of the Tiger.
No, it was. I think it's the song "Seal" by AWOL Nation. That's what I used to walk out to.
Oh yeah,
don't
I know
why.
that. Yeah.
I have no idea why. Like, it was a terrible choice. But
At the start of that, I thought you said "Seal," and I was thinking "Kiss from a Rose," which is a ballad that's beautiful, and I was like, that would psych out your opponent so well, baby. That'd be nice.
Maybe you could sing me out for my next fight. What do you think?
Don't joke about this.
No.
Don't joke about
You're going
this.
to be in the SSE soon. That's where my next fight will be. So, you maybe
Would I be in
practice.
could I be like on a raised bit?
Oh, like it comes up as you come out, like
A cappella?
100%.
What do you want?
You could get
Goo
a
Goo
team
Dolls
with you
Iris
if
or
you want
something?
it. Huh?
What?
What'd you say?
Goo Goo Dolls Iris or something?
100%.
Or Aerosmith, don't want to miss the thing.
I'll leave that one up to you.
We
Your
psych out
team.
do you know who your opponent is yet?
Yes.
Can you say no? No?
Yeah.
Who is it?
Jordan Vucenic. Well,
Jordan Vucenic, mate?
Shit.
We're going to psych him out so bad. I'm going to do Seal, Kiss from a Rose. This song was big when I was a kid. Do you remember this song?
I
No?
don't know. Can you give me a wee
Okay, you imagine you're George Vucenic, right? And you're...
Vucenic?
Here,
George.
we're all...
George Vucenic. If you're watching, you're fucked.
Here, we're fighting this guy. We're fighting George first,
Oh, 100%. George.
right?
getting
In the
it.
car park of the SSE. And then we're going to fight fucking Danny
That's his dad,
Vucenic
that's
or
his
whoever
stepdad.
you mentioned there. Here's the thing. We're already getting in his head.
100% George.
We're already getting this. That's what I... Seeing all your press, just call him George.
Oh, 100%.
Like dead serious, call
Yeah.
him George. So Seal, Kiss from a Rose goes like this. So I want you to imagine you're George.
Yeah.
And you're in the SSE. Now here's what I do to fuck with him.
Shaking.
See his entrance music. We don't have it, mate. We've lost it. So he walks on to nothing,
So we need to find out who the DJ is beforehand. Give him a wee background.
snodding,
Is that who it is?
snodding. I'll see
Unreal.
for 30 quid.
Give him a wee buzz.
Snodding, snodding.
He'll do it.
Don't worry.
He'll do it.
So then I raise up on
Okay.
a thing. There's a countdown to
Okay,
me that
okay.
comes up.
So I'm Jordan, am I?
You're
Okay,
George,
So I'm just,
right? So
I'm sorry, George. Sorry.
So I come up and I go, I'll just get into the chorus. I could fuck about with the verse, but I want to get into the chorus. So it goes, baby, I compare you to a kiss from a rose on the grave. Ooh, the more I get of you, the stranger it feels. And yeah, now you keep thinking I'm going to end. Now that your rose is in bloom, a light hits the bloom on the grave. Fireworks, knock 'em out. George
Boom.
sparked out.
Done.
So nah, I'm only messing, but we can think about the song. But you let me know.
No, it's up to you.
You let me know.
Yeah,
How
you're the
funny
one.
if I just did that and like played it totally straight. Everyone's like, "How you Paul? You singing Paul on?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm singing him on."
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm
Got a
fighting on
problem,
the
bro?
undercard
Or
too.
what? We can sort this out.
I'll fight on the undercard. I love that.
100%.
Like someone who's injured but really good.
Yeah. That's
How-
good. When someone with a broken leg or something, just get in.
No, broken. It'd have to be arms too. How?
Someone on a wheelchair.
See the guy who's yeah, because we believe in equality, so why
Yeah.
not? Why not?
Oh, 100%.
Why not?
Or-
Why not a 14-year-old kid in a wheelchair?
A female as well.
Why not a female 14-year-old in a wheelchair as the undercard of the fight before I
Set it
sing
up. Cage
"Seal, Kiss
Warriors
from a Rose"? And I
or
don't even think
UFC.
you need to fight at this. I think that's the card.
Aye.
But see, like all the ranked fighters in the world, see in my weight, do you think I'd have a chance against the guy who's bottom? I mean, if there's how many fighters would there be round the world? You know when you go on box rec or whatever, it'll say like Mick Conlon for his weight is like ranked 1, and then it's like /7,000. So do you think if we found the guy who was my weight that was like the 7,000th best in the world, you think I'd keep him busy for a round?
100%. What weight are you?
Fuck, I'd love that. Cruiser.
Cruiser.
And I wouldn't cut. I refuse to cut.
Mans doesn't need the cut.
Yeah.
He's ready to go.
No. I'd be cruiser. Like,
You might need a cut after them donuts I brought you.
Yeah.
And
No.
them greedy gwins I got you.
Yeah, shout out that
Shout
guy.
out the
He's your
Greedy
mate.
Gwyn.
Shout out that guy. You brought us sweets and donuts, and I like ate the sweets out of politeness. And then after a couple of sweets, I was like, "They're really nice." And you were like, "Oh, it's my mate." And then when you walked out of the room, I turned around Dan and Mike, and I went, "I think he might think I'm saying this, but these actually are delicious."
Oh, fantastic. Shout out David. They're the best sweets in the game.
I mean, that's probably also not ideal, though. Like climbing the ranks as a fighter when your best mate is a purveyor of sweets.
I mean, he literally comes to my house every weekend and brings boxes of sweets and orders takeaways.
He's working for George.
100%. Vucenovic, inside informant in the camp.
So, did you win your first fight?
Yes, I did. I did.
How did that feel?
Oh, it was the maddest experience ever. Like, fighting just in general is just the maddest shit. But see, when you haven't done it before and you're just like, you don't know what you're in for. Like, even throughout your amateur career, you still don't know what you're doing. You're like, you don't have a clue the magnitude or the seriousness of actually fighting a man is. But see, after your first fight, it's just the best feeling.
After your first fight, did that make you go like, I'm in this 100%, or were you already that going in no matter what the outcome was?
I mean, no, at that point I was so young, and MMA was just like, there was no like future in MMA back then. There was no Conor McGregor, there was no Irish guys in the UFC, there was no professional fighters really, there was no professional scene. So back then it was just like, this is some crack. Like, I love doing this shit. And it wasn't until maybe a few years after that, whenever people started, like Conor McGregor started coming up. So there was no future. There was no like, oh, I'm in this game now for the rest of my life. It was just like, this is good crack, like, you know what I mean? I'm getting hard as fuck here doing this here. Like,
that will put your opponent off. That's what we do at the SSE. As soon as I finish, kiss from a rose.
Why do you think I'm
Boing.
undefeated?
George on the world. George's eyes will be so high. We'll just go in. We'll work the body.
George
we'll
is
work the body
definitely
like I'm
not
fighting
fighting
with
me
you.
after this podcast.
No.
100%.
When you get an opponent, like when you know this guy you're fighting, will you do? Are you someone who's like, I could get into the mind games, I could get into a wee bit of the press back and forth, or do you not like that sort of thing?
No, I love the mind games. Like,
Yeah.
I love the mind games for sure.
I think it's always fun, and it always adds something, unless both fighters have no history of doing it, and then you go, well, they don't need to do that. That's not what this fight is. But it's, as a punter, it adds so much to it because of Twitter now. Like seeing like fighters argue on Twitter, and even sometimes if it's like a bit of banter as well, it's great because it just adds to the fight.
The entertainment value. No, like, hyping a fight is so important, but it's also so important that you're being genuine. Like,
Yes.
you can't just be fake. You can't be a fake bollocks and just being someone that you're not, because I mean, it's the same as anything. People just see through that shit straight away, and then they end up disliking you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Which is the opposite of what you're trying to do with hyping. So, I mean, I try to keep it as real as possible. Whenever I'm hyping a fight, I'm just sort of speaking my mind. Maybe there's a bit of a added element to that, but nah, like, you gotta be hyping that shit, like, for sure.
So how do you go from like that first fight in the early days? At what point did you see this as a career? Like, what were you gonna do?
Like, a career, as in, like, this is going to be the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I was fighting amateur and I was winning belts when I was like young, like 18, which is like pretty good thing to do at a young age. It's like winning the most.
Can I ask while it's in my head? See, at that age, like you're saying, like 18, growing up in Derry, going on nights out and that sort of thing, did people sort of kind of know you as a fighter? And did that have like a negative impact? Like, was there people who would hear that and maybe like,
Would
do
try
you think
him
he's
here.
hard? Yeah.
See, to be completely honest, like, I've never really had that. I've never had really people trying me in altercations or anything like that. I've never been in an altercation, I don't think, outside of fighting in my life.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's probably because of the fact, like, when I'm out and stuff, if I'm drinking or I'm drunk, like, I'm like the happiest drunk ever. So, like, I'm never, and also my friends are all sound, never getting an altercation. So, just never something that's came towards me, like.
Right.
But, what were we saying before
So
that?
I was going to say, like, was there another career path you were going to go down, or?
I mean, like, nah, see, once
I'm
I
the
found
same.
MMA, I was like, I was like, oh, I could be like a nutritionist or a trainer on the side. And then I realized as I got older, oh no, you can just be a professional fighter. Like, there's people doing that now. Like, Conor McGregor was just coming up. It was just like, yeah, you can actually be professional and then turn professional then when I was 19, which is pretty young as well.
Because you fought in what was the Odyssey back, SSE?
Yeah.
When you were 19, which is crazy because I think of MMA as like guys in their mid-20s, but a lot of them are around 30. Some cases like even late 30. But 19 just seems like a very young age to be doing that.
Yeah, I mean, super young. Like, I was just fighting actively amateur, and at that year that I turned pro, I was like, right, I had no intention turning pro. I was like, I'm gonna win the world championships in amateur MMA. So there was like a thing in Vegas, and it's a prestigious thing to win, and that was my goal for the year. And then it was like February, whatever time of the year it was, and my coach just goes to me, there's a slot here in this SSE card. Like, a couple of teammates were fighting on it. I never thought about it. I was just focused, and he was like, there's a slot here in a week and a half, and if you want to fight on it, like, you're on it. And the fact that he said that, even asked me to do it, I knew that he knew that I was ready.
Yeah.
So then it was like, whatever, a week and a half's notice, jumped in and fought this tough ass Polish guy and just KO'd him in like maybe 90 seconds, and the whole thing just went viral. Like, my wee baby face, like, in the interview after, I was like, I'm only 19 years old, like, looking up at the crowd, I'm only 19. Which I still get the fucking hand taken out of me today for. But I think it just blew up because I had such a wee baby face, and I just brutally KO'd this guy, like, broke his friggin' orbital and skull, and like was just like, I'm gonna be world champion, I'm the future and all this year, like, and it just blew up. It was like millions.
Was this
of
your
views.
Daniel O'Donnell? Was Daniel O'Donnell your spokesman?
He was walking me out for that fight. Yeah, so you got a lot of live up to.
Yeah. Imagine Daniel singing you out would be class if he started singing like one of his Daniel songs, but then halfway through it, because you know a lot of fighters will walk out to one song and then change it up and another song kicks in. I would love it if Daniel just went into like Stormzy, shut up. Tell my man shut up. That would put off an opponent.
Man, shut up.
Man try and sees better than me. I tell my man shut up. Rude boy, shut up. That's a separate video we're gonna
be
make.
So rude, boy. Shut up.
All his mates behind him,
Like,
all the boys at the Royal British Legion. But that's
bunch of grannies behind him, like, throwing out gang signs.
usually the other
Like,
way around. That's only a joke. That's a joke. He listens.
oh, Daniel.
Shout
out Daniel.
Have you ever been to his museum?
What? No. Are you serious?
Dan, right or wrong?
Not sure it exists anymore. I think they have to shut it down.
They've shut it down for a while, but hopefully it comes back in Dunlow in County Donegal.
Really?
There was a Daniel O'Donnell museum. Yep, and it's round the back of the Super Value.
Oh.
Fucking serious spot,
Actually.
like serious spot.
See, when you said that, I was just imagining just out the back of his gaff and him just inviting select few people around. Do you want to see my museum?
Well, he used to do the tea day once a year. He would like genuinely open his house, and there was a queue of about 1,000 grannies, and you just had a tea with Daniel.
What? It was obviously Thompson's Punjana.
It was Punjana, 100%. It was Punjana.
Otherwise, nobody else would have came.
You're gonna walk out at this next fight with just Punjana everywhere, sorting you
People
out.
like throwing it like confetti over me, like.
So when you win that, by the way, you were gonna go to the amateur championships, but when you took that SSE fight, did that mean you went pro at that point?
Yeah, that was me, pro. Once you turn pro, you can't turn back. So
What was it like? Because I'm about to do this. I'm about to go to a show at the SSE. But what was it like driving to there, knowing the size of the place and backstage and all that? Tell me it was alright.
Oh no, it's amazing. Like, do you know what I mean? I mean, the SSE is probably the most iconic thing you can do here. Like, surely.
Yeah.
So like going there, like, especially with my pro debut was 19. I was just like, this is some cool ass shit. Like,
Had you been to see anyone there, like as a concert when you were younger?
I can't recall, to be honest. Like, maybe Belfast Giants or some shit. Like,
Right.
Nah, I can't remember. But no,
I went to see Shane Ward there once. Guy won X Factor about fucking 20 years ago.
Oh yes, I actually do remember him.
Yeah.
Great singer, great voice.
Yes, but you know,
Okay,
at that he did the SSE show very early, I would say, in the
Okay.
career. I don't know if he had the hits for it, because halfway through it, he's like, I'm going to do a Prince medley, and it was just all of Prince's songs to fill
Fair enough.
either side. Just one. He had one song at the start, No Promises, and then he had That's My Goal, and in between it was just a Prince medley the whole time.
Oh, that was him. That's my goal.
Yeah.
And what age were you whenever you went to see him? You could. That's my goal.
You know where I've come from. Daniel's behind me. Derry.
That's my goal.
That was a tune, and No Promises was
I?
a belter as well. I really liked that first album, but
Track 3 minutes in.
but
Great.
everything, that's a huge deal to like have your direction changed so quickly, week and a half notice. You're like, here's what I'm going to do, but actually, I'm going to go pro, and you don't just go pro, you win that first fight with like a brutal KO. And then, is it that, do things move slow, or when something like that happens, do you get a lot of interest? Do you get a lot of offers for cool stuff to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I had offers from everything after that, like all the European promotions, like promotions in like America and China. That's actually what I was thinking. I was thinking of going to China after that one, just because why not? Like,
yeah.
But I had all these offers coming in, and like it was obviously my coach was dealing with it all, but I broke my hand in the fight, so that sent me back, and then ended up just fucking being injured and breaking my hands for like almost 2 years straight. So
see, I want to ask you about that, but see, when you break your hand in the fight, and that's something you hear quite a lot, you know, especially from boxers. Oh, I broke my hand in that fight. How can you then continue? Surely, when you break your hand in the fight, you put your hand up and go, like, I've now broken my hand. Do you not know you've done it because of the adrenaline and all that sort of thing, or were you in the fight going, that's probably bust?
Because it was so short, I didn't notice. Because I threw like a flying knee or whatever and just missed. And I hit him with like, you can actually see my knuckle still fucked from it. That was from the pro debut. But like, you don't notice because it was such a... Hey?
You tried pseudo cream?
Yeah. That's how I fixed it. Yeah, obviously. Bit of CBD.
Here, what fighter isn't pushing CBD these days?
Usually that's going to go. Hung Daddy 6'9".
Do you have one?
No, I don't.
I was going to say, you could have thrown it out there. But so you break your hand in the fight, and then did you think, like, this will be a quick fix, get sorted?
Yeah, because I never broke my hand before, never had a serious injury, so I was just like, here, it is what it is. 6 weeks' time, I'll be back. And then I came back, I got another fight booked in like Dublin or whatever. A pile of hype still there, because it was only like a month or two after the fight. And then I broke my right hand, which was the other one, like preparing for the next one. And I was like, oh my fucking God, I'm going to be out this whole year. And I've just come onto the scene, like everything's happening.
Yeah.
And then I ended up basically having the horrific streak where I just broke my right hand 3 times in a row. So for like over a 12-month period, I was just booking a fight, coming back, getting into my training, sparring, doing rehab every day, and like as soon as I started sparring hard again, it just broke.
And that's money. That's money as well, isn't it?
Oh,
like
100%.
Put on a camp, or you get people in the spar. Even the time.
Well, at the time I was like a student, so I was just using my student loan just to train full time. Basically, I wasn't going to class, but don't tell Ma. But yeah, I mean, it just led to like the craziest, unluckiest streak that it literally, like, I was asked about this in an interview the other day, and it just didn't seem real that was actually happened to me so young, because I just thought, I was like, fucking career's over here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a year and a half. Like, my hand is just broke for the 3rd time. Like, every time I'd be coming back, I'd be doing my rehab to perfection in the gym all day, doing what I can, punching with one hand, running, mobility, weights, everything I could do. And then as soon as I would come back, have a fight booked and be training, it would break again. And after the 4th time, so I broke my left hand in my pro debut, and then broke the right one 3 times in a row in the space of a year. And I was just like going back to the doctors again. They were like, you need to retire. Like, they were like, this, you can't just keep going like that. 20. And they were just like, you can't, like, this is broke so many times. Like, you just can't punch with this anymore. You can't do your sport. Like, that's what the doctors had said to me. And every time they were like letting it heal, or they were telling me to let it heal naturally because it was the strongest way. And like after the 3rd time, I was like, what am I going to do? I was like, I can't punch with this hand. Like, my hand keeps breaking. Yeah. And then that was like obviously fucking just, as you could imagine, like your whole, like, imagine comedy was taken away from you, and you were just like, nah, you're not allowed to do that anymore. You can't do it.
The thing as well is, because it went so well for you, people talking about you, this offer, you worry that you're going to be forgotten about. You lose relevance because people move on very quick. Yeah,
that was the hardest part, one of the hardest parts, because like other people that I was coming up with and other opponents, former opponents, were like turning pro, and then they were like making their ways in the pro game, and I was just like sitting on the sidelines like, what the fuck, like, everyone's just progressing. And that was probably one of the hardest things, was sitting out and just seeing the whole game moving and slowly but surely forgetting about you, because the fight game, they're quick to forget. Do you know what I mean? You fight, and then a couple of months later, if you're not keeping active, they don't give a fuck about you. Like UFC and all, they'll strip you off your belt if you haven't fought in like 4 months, and you're like, it's quick to forget the game. But yeah, well, very fortunate I was able to get surgery in the hand, and I got that. Shout out to Paul McCormick, physio, who like just got me sorted there. Got surgery with like the top hand surgeon in the country, Dr. Ames, I believe his name is. So shout out to him. He literally saved my career. And he was like, it's actually a funny story. Basically, he was like, through a favour, through Paul, my physio, he got me in with this hand surgeon, and he was like, came to the hospital, and your man just came out. He was wearing like his full friggin' surgical robes, and he was like, look, he goes, Paul Hughes, and I was like, yep. He goes, come with me. In front of the queue, straight in an x-ray room, got the hand x-rayed. He was like, right, go out and wait 20 minutes till I get these results back. Came into his office, and he was like, right. He was like, I know your story. Like, I've seen your fights. He was like, I want to help you. So I've just looked at your hand, and like, we can't let this heal naturally again. We got to do something different. And I'm just like, yeah. And he goes, you're going to have to get surgery on it. And I'm like, 100%, whatever I need to do. And he goes, this was a Thursday. And he goes, what are you doing on Monday? And I was like, fucking, don't know, like sitting fucking depressed, like, I don't know, man, crying like every other day. And he goes, right, come in for Monday and I'll get you surgery. I'll do it myself. And I'm just like, what? So I went out, went into my car, just cried my eyes. It was like, finally a bit of hope after like a year and a half of just handbrakes, suffering, just like trying to get back, just being beaten down again. And then basically got surgery on the Monday, and he was like, you're going to have to leave this for quite a while, just let it fully heal. So I ended up taking basically a year, and I went to Australia for a year and just let it heal fully. Didn't punch for about at least 6 months, just worked on the other aspects of my game, like my grappling, my punch with one hand, all that. And then made my return when I came back from Australia it was only 2.5 years ago. Like, I've literally just got back to the game, which is mad.
If it wasn't for that, someone just going, right, you need surgery, you need to do something different, would it have just petered out? Would you have just had to move on to something else? And
it would have been hard because I'm so, like, it was everything to me at that point. Like, I'd set my goal after I made my pro debut. It was like, you're good enough. Like, it was like solidification for me. It was like, my initial goal was, you can be CageWarriors world champion. That's literally what actually got me through the injuries. Yeah. Like, was the belief that one day if I got back, I can do that.
That belt probably means more to you because that's what was keeping you going during all that.
Literally, it's I still can't believe it's happened. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy that it was literally only 2.5 years ago that I got back. Like, I was literally just starting from square one again. Yeah. Like, I feel like I just made my debut 2.5 years ago, and now
I think the one thing I'd say is, from personal experience, if you're good enough at karate, you don't need your hands. So
why didn't I?
That's what my advice would have been. A lot of the times when I'm in the dojo, I'll even keep my hands in my pockets. 100%. You know, and spar and
that's amazing.
Did you get anyone offering you like real bad advice during it? Like, would you get people?
You there now? That's about the height of it, to be honest. Everyone else is quite supportive.
I will be supportive, as you'll see at the SSE, when I reduce everyone to tears with my cover of Shut Up featuring Daniel O'Donnell. It'll be fun.
Tell my man.
So this belt, winning this belt at CageWarriors, where was that fight?
London.
In
York Hall,
which is like synonymous with boxing and a very iconic venue. So who were you fighting for?
A guy called Morgan Charrier. We French bollocks.
That's his nickname?
That's his
French bollocks?
That's his fight nickname, yeah. He's like...
you don't like him?
No, I have a lot of respect for him. I mean, there was a lot of chit chat in the lead up. Like, I called him out like maybe 18 months ago. Always he's like a big superstar in France, right? Massive following.
Who isn't?
I mean, like, come on, anybody with Instagram, like, do you know what I mean? But like, couple 100,000 followers, like, big name, and he had joined CageWarriors, and I think he fought for the belt or whatever, and I was only like one fight in. And like, I just KO'd this guy, and I was like feeling myself, started calling out everyone in the division. I was like, Morgan, you're born. I'm gonna get you, like, all this shit. So eventually I just worked my way up throughout CageWarriors, and yeah, and he was the next guy whenever I was my time for the fight for the belt. So yeah, it finally came to fruition there.
When someone loses a fight, or like when the winner and loser are talking to each other at fights, you know, there's always, like, no matter how bad the build up to it's been, there's 9 out of 10 times there's always that respect of, like, you know, a hug and a word in the ear, and, you know, your corner talks to him and vice versa and all that. But when you take a belt off someone, what are you saying in the ring after that to each other?
So it was for the belt. He wasn't holding the belt
at
the time, but it was still, I mean, I was talking to the producer of CageWarriors after it, and he described it perfectly. He was like, I don't know if you've seen like any of the shenanigans, like the crowds and stuff, but it was like you had 2 balconies, right? And just by by, I don't know how it happened. My corner was all of my fans and all Irish behind me, and then his corner was all his French fans. He had a big traveling fan base, like big superstar there, and it was like absolute madness. Like it was literally, I've never experienced an atmosphere like it. Like the broadcast and stuff doesn't do it justice. Like we were saying about the York Hall there, I was there the next night for some other fights, and the staff are coming over to me and saying that was probably the best event we've ever had in the York Hall,
right.
which is massive because it's been going 100 years or whatever. And like the producer said it best. He was like, that event tonight had the feel of like football hooliganism, where it was absolute insanity on both sides, like both fans just going insane. Like my mates ripping their tops off, like fucking going mad. But he says as soon as the fight ended, it had martial arts respect, and that's exactly what you were touching on. It's like that's one of the beauties of martial arts as well, is like when it's all said and done, like majority of the time people can just shake hands and go.
Have you had anyone be a dick like after a fight?
Nah, not at all.
That's good.
Not like Wilder there the other night. Did you see that?
Yeah. Well,
wouldn't shake his hand.
Yeah, but didn't he say to him? He goes, I can't show you any respect.
He's like, I don't respect you, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like Wilder got so much respect after that fight. It was the maddest fight I've seen.
Wilder's gone down in my estimation, and I'm going to use this platform as an opportunity to call him out. So on the undercard of your SSE fight, Wilder, you dosser if you're watching. Fuck, I'll fight Fury too.
Big dosser.
If the belts are on the line, if he puts the belts on the line.
They're probably still a bit beat up from that fight. You may have a chance.
Yeah. Like the next day, I'm like, I want to fight you.
I'll show you some takedowns.
Yeah, you won't need to.
The ground.
You won't need to.
The Hollywood Dojo's teaching you well.
The Hollywood Dojo's non-contact.
It's like tag rugby back in the day. You have to tag the wee things off them. KO.
Oh man, yeah, that fight. I obviously saw the highlights of that fight, and it was great. And Reese, who's a good mate of yours, who hopefully will come on the podcast, won his fight too. And that must be a class feeling when like you're doing well, your mates are doing well, and like there's a bit of buzz. So what do you want to? What's your goal with all this? Like someone with a very, very limited knowledge of it, I always go, oh well, yeah, surely your goal is to fight UFC, but that might not be the case for some people. So what do you want to do?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like I want to be UFC world champion. Like,
right.
That is I got very serious there, but that is genuinely, that's what I'm in this game for. I know, like, thankfully MMA, the industry's going where like people can get into the game and they don't have to be UFC world champion to make money or whatever. But that is my goal. I want to be the best in the world. Like, that was just the first major career goal that I've just achieved. And, like, I do believe I have the capabilities to be the UFC world champion. And that's absolutely what I'm in it for. Like, within the next 6 or 7 years, I want to be there. Like,
see if you do that and have every confidence with your belief and, like, your resilience and all that you could do that. Would you still get to keep other, like, say someone beats you for that belt, do you still get to keep that as like a...
It wouldn't happen, but...
What I'm saying, can I have that if you win the UFC belt?
Sentence on up.
If you win the UFC belt, can I have that?
We'll think about it. We'll see. We'll see how.
I'll fight that Morgan guy.
Yeah. He's got a broken orbital right now, so maybe a few left hooks. You'll be like
perfect. And I'll say to him, remember, no hands.
Yeah,
just legs.
Just tag.
Just legs. Yeah.
But look, if you sing me out well enough, if the performance is spectacular enough, if Daniel's really killing it in the background, then
be so good.
I'll think about it.
That'd be so good. What's your support like in Derry?
Oh, unreal. Like, I mean, every fight has just gone crazy. More and more support from the whole country. But like, the sport in Derry is amazing. Lavey, where I'm from, I came home on Sunday night, like just got the flight back from London. I was talking to my ma, and like the last time I came home from a fight, there was like a pile of neighbours and stuff there that like I didn't even know their fucking names, never met them in my life, but they just seen there was something going on. They were like, oh well, I'll go down and see what's happening in the Hughes' house. So I'm like meeting all these people I don't even fucking know, and I'm like, yeah, no, it was a good fight and all, and people asking you the same questions. And that's like after the whole weekend, you're going back to your ma's house, you want to chill out.
Yeah.
So on last Sunday there, I was like, mad, nobody at the fucking house today. Like, I'm coming home, I've had a mad weekend, I just want to chill out. So I'm pulling down the car, like turn down the driveway, and like just as I'm pulling up to the driveway, I just see a photographer taking pictures of my wee car, my wee Mondeo. Me just sitting there like a wee Mondeo, like what the fuck is going on here? Like just turn into the corner and there's fucking 200 people.
I saw footage of that and it looked brilliant. Like,
that was a special moment. Do you know what I mean? Like the whole parish just there, like everybody you've grown up with, all my old GA coaches, all my old like mentors, like all my friends, all my family just there, like just clap me in, like singing ole ole, like So yeah, I've got amazing support from the country. Like it's sick. Like,
Do you know how I really felt the love in Derry once? This is where I was like, do you know what? Derry gets
special.
me. Went for dinner. If I'm doing a gig in Derry, I go to the Nando's at the Richmond Centre.
Okay.
And I was paying with a mate, and we were just about to do a gig, and the guy at the till goes, mate, don't worry about it. And it was at that point I was like, this is not my home city, but this is not far off.
Wow, bigger star than me in Derry.
Now their till was broke, but so I had to pay later. But still, it was a good moment. No, I genuinely, I'm not just saying this. I love Derry as a city. I think Derry's class, and I like that it is kind of its own world, you know, because like it's obviously so different to Belfast.
Yeah.
And you can only fall into the trap of thinking like Northern Ireland is really only Belfast and then other wee towns, stuff like that. But Derry is like, nah, fuck, it's like a republic. It's like its own place.
Definitely is like a republic in parts. I'll tell you that. But it's got a good vibe. No, Derry's a special wee place. Like,
yeah,
it is.
Yeah, even like doing gigs up there. Like there used to be a regular comedy club that kind of runs again now, but there was a while where it was the best comedy scene in Northern Ireland. Like it was
really?
better than Belfast. It just had this one particular. It was in Masons, which is now brickwork.
Okay.
It's on the walls. What's the best way? Key Street. Yeah. Very Key Street. Yeah.
I made that up, but whatever.
Dick. But it was class, just above a bar, just a wee room above a bar. But like there was like you could tell the people were like grateful that you'd made the trip up from Holywood or Belfast or whatever to come to Derry. So it was really nice. Would your go like again? I assume that every fighter's goal is to do a big, massive fight in like their local stadium or whatever. So like, where would the Brandywell be like?
No, for me, I think
I was being serious.
All right.
I was.
No, for me, like I'm more South Derry, but for me, like the biggest thing would be the SSE. Like,
oh, okay.
Yeah, for sure. That, or maybe I know they're building a new casement over in West Belfast.
Yeah.
That would be sick.
I think see the way that's going to look, and it's all like enclosed, because I think you can have a lot of like stadiums or grounds. And they're kind of like flat and they're not that like tall, or they're missing like a side. When you have grounds that are like this, you know, like high and all enclosed, that's how the atmosphere stays in.
I didn't actually know that. So is that how they're designing it? It's a full.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
So there's not like a standing area on one side or nothing.
I'm pretty sure. I
That's
don't
sick.
know. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's all enclosed.
That would be amazing.
That would be great.
That would be.
And
sick,
you could like that's the sort of place you'd get a couple of fellas to like fire a roof onto it.
100%.
On short notice, to be a few boys running about, you know, Andytown, where casement is. You go, mate, lads, fire a wee roof on this for the
We
weekend.
could build a fucking roof in that.
We could stick a roof on it,
100%.
no bother. But yeah, I think casement would be class. And from speaking to like boxers especially, anytime I say, where's your thing, everyone's like, I'd love to do casement at some point. I just think that'll be special. Like,
for sure. I think it's just because it hasn't been there a while. It didn't come like, but I know it's going to be built in the next few years or whatever. So obviously, like all of my gym, all of my training, everything's based in West Belfast. Like, so
okay,
I have a strong connection to that. And like I think just obviously the fighting culture in West Belfast as well, and Belfast in general, but especially West. I think like I would just be special to do something like that for MMA, because MMA is just like this up and coming thing. Yeah. But I believe that we have the potential just to make MMA like boxing, how iconic boxing is here, because it's just the fighting Irish, it's just our sort of culture. I think that MMA has that possibility, and it would be amazing. It'd be special to be able to be one of the people to sort of bring that here, and ideally in a couple of years bring the UFC maybe to casement or to the SSE, and definitely the SSE, but something like casement outdoor. I think like I've definitely visualised things like that.
What about Dundonald Ice Bowl? You ever been there, Big Sure?
I'd do it for paying me enough. Like,
that's a spot.
You know what I mean?
That's a spot. I want to ask you. So the fight that you've got coming up when is it?
So we haven't got any confirmation.
Okay.
There's a card in 8 weeks or less than 8 weeks in London again. But speaking of big shows, CageWarriors. Now we probably can't put this out. There's talk of them doing a show early next year in the SSE, because they had actually planned to do it last year, planned to do 2 shows, and they got cancelled with COVID. So CageWarriors could be in the SSE very early next year. So that would obviously be an ideal spot to defend this bad boy. And
I could host. I'd be like Joe Rogan at that. I could host that.
100%.
I could
100%.
definitely get in there when a fella's been knocked out and be like, "You get knocked out there, bro? Did you?"
How
do you
feeling?
feel?
Is your man down in the crowd, are they? They all right?
It's the only question I'd have. All right, mate, you just won the belt. How do you feel? And you just lost, mate. How do you feel? Any words? Must not be good, is it? No?
Your man's just lying like McGregor with a broken leg. Like, oh.
Me?
Doctor, stop it.
I'll scrap you right now. This would be a good time. But I'm not cutting. I just don't think I'd want to cut and lose strength. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. No, you gotta keep. 100%.
I'd want to keep I wouldn't want to lose my bulk or my strength. So because if I'm fighting a cruiser, the fella I'm fighting is gonna be probably sitting weight heavier than me, a stone heavier than me, but he'll be coming down. Yeah. So he's gonna be tired. He's gonna like water retention, all that sort of thing. So I think that'd be easier for me.
You keep the speed, just the heavy hands.
I'm like
you
Usyk.
know. Yeah, 100%.
Wee bit smaller, but like, is that what you call him?
Usyk, yeah, that's it. That's it.
I'd be him. No, fighting's good. I wouldn't. It's all behind me, like now fighting, but
just in the hard streets of Hollywood growing up.
Since I had a kid, mate, I just wouldn't feel right about it.
Yeah,
you know. But look, I totally understand that. I never felt like going pro. Like I think I did enough on the amateur scene.
Yeah.
To be happy with that legacy.
Too much rules in MMA. There's too much rules.
Too many rules, and but like you say, if it did come somewhere like Casement, it'd be hard not to throw the old gi on. Throw the gi on, and yeah.
Fair enough.
But I think like maybe I could be a cut man.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd like to do that.
Yeah.
We would have Vaseline on the eye. Does that do anything? Vaseline the eyebrows?
I don't know, but do you know what? This is random as fuck. But I got him to put in my fight last week. I got him to put some on my lips because my lips were chapped. I swear to God.
So you're in the middle of a fight, and the guy's like the guy's gonna patch you up, and you've gone whoa. As soon as your opponent hears that noise, you're beat. Fighters go back out for the last round.
So it was like, see, because you're cutting weight and stuff, like your body's a bit fucked up. So like, whenever I was entering the cage, they're like doing the wee thing, and your mom his name's Kieran. I was like, Kieran, throw a bit of fucking lips there. My lips are a wee bit chapped. Because like, if you see my walkout, I'm like, I look like I'm friggin' McGregor, friggin' off my head in the club. I'm like, like it's here with a flag, and I'm watching it back, and I was like, people probably think I'm friggin' McGregor, like going on like McGregor here, but my lips were just chapped as fuck. So I fucking
coach, I think they're cracked. Your ribs, my lips.
It's like Rocky in the corner. It's like, cut me. It's like, get my lips.
Do you need the toilet? I need the Carmex in there. Is what I need. So cherry one? No, not the original. All right, well
that's me throwing towel. The cherry. I need the cherry.
Way too big wet lips walking into the ring against like the opponent out. Have you ever had anything weird said to you during a fight by an opponent? Is there any like mind games going on like during a fight?
I've never had someone say anything to me, but I've definitely talked shit in my fight. Like
during the fight?
Oh, 100%. Oh, big time.
Like what?
Like last one there, like I was just calling wee French bollocks. Like I had said to them the whole lead up, I was like, I'm gonna bring you in the 4th and 5th round, bring you to deep waters, and then batter you there.
Down you. Yeah, that's a good way.
Yeah,
I'm gonna bring you in the deep waters.
So like when we were coming out for the 4th round, I just broke his orbital in the round before, so I was up like this here, and I was like, we're here now, round number four. So I took him down like a minute and a half later, and was on top of him, and I was like, we're fucking here now, you wee French bollocks. I was like, we're here where I wanted you now, and I'm like elbowing him in the head, and like I can see my corner right in front of me, and I'm just like, we're fucking here we are, round four, started hitting them elbows.
Do you know a bit of a nice touch, doing it in French? Ça va, mate? Ça va?
Don't know any French, but
that's all you. Ça va?
What's that mean?
Ça va means how are you?
Oh, there you are.
You go.
How you doing?
You go. Ça va bien, merci et tout. That's what. Imagine if I had just be using my GCSE for La piscine, mate. That's swimming pool.
I go to the cinema with my 2 brothers.
What's 19? What's 19 in French? 19. You have to.
I'm only 19.
Je m'appelle 19.
Je m'appelle Daniel O'Donnell.
Oh, if you think that fighter's big in France, Daniel fucking cleans up.
Fuck me.
hanging off him outside the Champs-Elysees. Big man loves it. What's your, like, having a bit of time off? Like, what's your plan with that?
No time off, mate. I'm back at it. Been back at camp.
That's where I go wrong as a fighter.
Yeah, you'd be on the donuts for now a couple of weeks. To be fair, I've definitely been in the donuts since the fight. I look like I had Paul that fought 2 weeks ago. But no, I'm back in the camp as of this week. Do you know what I mean? I had the best week and a half, near 2 weeks of my life there. And it was absolutely amazing. But I'm just also so happy to be back at the grind because, I mean, you know, when you're doing it all day, every day, you just have that itch. Yeah. And the titles don't win themselves. I'm literally only getting started, so I'm back in the camp again. I'm preparing for whatever's next, whether that be 8 weeks time in London again, or whether that's the SSE early next year. So
sometimes I see a fighter, and in between fights, they'll like put on a pile of weight, and they'll drink, and they'll do whatever, and then they'll say like, "I'm just waiting until we get a date for another fight, and then I'll cut and all that." But it seems to me, and I have no idea of the dedication involved, but it seems to me like, why not keep yourself at like a nice weight, like a manageable weight? Look, definitely go and enjoy yourself. Have the odd donut, but still stay working. Mm-hmm. Is that what you try and do?
I definitely try to do that for sure.
Yeah, but you look like it sounds like you're not going to fluctuate too much.
Nah, I mean, it's just hard because every time you're fighting and all, you're like, right, after this fight, I'm gonna keep it like down, good level, keep it moderately disciplined. Although I am like pretty disciplined, it's just so hard, mate, when you've just been dieting for months and months, and you're just like,
and your best mate literally owns a sweet shop,
literally, and comes and falls asleep on my sofa like with a pile of sweets beside him every Friday night. It's not easy to deal with.
Yeah.
But
do you know the equivalent of that is saying like, after this fight I'm just gonna keep training and keep working hard. When you're on holiday and you bring a book and you say to yourself, see, when I get home, I'm going to read a book every night. I'm always going to read a book, but you never do.
You never do it.
You never do. And that's as close, I think, as I'll ever get to being a professional cage fighter.
It's a good analogy, but no, like it is hard to maintain like a elite level discipline because that's what it is beforehand. Like it's almost impossible to just maintain that for the weeks after the fight because you need to have just that period where you're not thinking about every calorie you're eating. Do you know what I mean? Because you're tracking everything. Everything's tracked, so. It's like, it's just, I've went a little bit crazy before after fights and like you come back to training, you just feel heavy, you don't feel good about yourself. So now I feel like I'm on that good level of just like enjoying myself. But the beauty of it is having something that may be so close in another fight. It's just like, it's easy then. Do you know what I mean? It's easy.
See, for Patreon content, would you mind if we got Mike and we took the cameras down to Holywood Town Centre here, we brought the belt and just got you to spark out people in the street?
Oh, I'd do it.
That'll be fun.
You pay me or what?
That'll be a fun video. Yeah, we'll sort you out.
Yeah, donuts.
We'll give you a mug.
Oh, let's go.
Some Punjana.
Give me some Punjana. I'll fucking
available now. Would you carry this into your next fight?
100%.
Drinking like boost out of it or whatever it is you drink.
Can, like when they're getting the hand raised, they have like a can of Monster out with a team of me. Like.
Telling the head of CageWarriors, you're like, listen, I've got a wee brand collab here. Who is it? Monster, Red Bull? No, it's Punjana Decaf. That's what we're doing. Paul, thanks so much for coming on. I've really enjoyed chatting to you there, and I've no doubt you'll do exactly what it is that you want to do. And look, I was going to say I'm going to start practicing singing. I'm just going to do it on the night.
Yeah,
I'm going to do it on the night. When we wrap this up, can we get a photo on that? Can I hold the belt in the photo?
100%.
Class.
Of course. Got to spark a few people out down the street first, but earn it.
These three guys are first. We could kick the fuck out of 3
3 on 2. We got it.
You take those 3 and I'll watch.